this lesson, I'd like to introduce the term intermittent fasting. This can be used to shock the body, to break yourself out of a plateau. So probably not just yet, but it's a nice time to start thinking about it anyway. You know, you've been following the plans now a couple of weeks, you're getting a routine going. Now, understand that you can do something called intermittent fasting, and this is when you actually break a routine, break a habit to try and force the body into some extra results. Okay, it's a very popular term and it needs to be talked about, and in future lessons I'll be discussing more of these important nutritional terms that you may hear about, and I want to help it all be clarified for you and help you get the correct knowledge so that there's no misperceptions, misunderstandings. Intermittent fasting, I personally like to use as a little variable, again like I've said, to shock the body. So simply think of it like this. If your body is used to having the same foods every day because you're a creature of habit and you don't like too much variety, that's great, easy, no problem. But then every now and again, say once a week, you decide to skip breakfast. You always have breakfast, but then once a week or potentially twice a week, you skip that breakfast meal. You still do your exercise, you still do your normal routine that morning, but you even skip morning tea. So then that day, you're in a real calorie deficit. You've reduced your intake, and then you start your normal day from lunchtime. You have your normal lunch, afternoon tea, dinner, dessert. You don't overeat at those times, you just go as normal. And you embrace the fact that you've actually consumed less calories or less fuel that day, but still expended the same amount of fuel. By doing that, it's forcing your body to break into some stubborn fat stores so that you can create some energy from that stubborn fat. Typically around the lower back, lower belly, if you feel like it's just not moving quick enough, you might want to throw in this sort of intermittent fasting tactic. So for a few hours, you actually fast. Nothing extreme, please. It's not about, fasting for a whole day or 2 days or doing extreme things or saying this many hours eating, this many not eating. It doesn't need to be like that. It's just a little simple tactic to throw in occasionally as you wish. Okay? Nothing overboard, nice and calm and easy. Also, intermittent fasting can be used if you're looking for a greater result in a sporting sort of achievement, okay? Or in a bodybuilding achievement. So there's many ways we can use intermittent fasting. One way is if you want to really maximize an energy buildup from carbohydrates, you might initially do a little intermittent fast from carbohydrates. Okay, and then when you do consume carbohydrates in an overabundance of a volume of carbohydrate compared to normal, the muscles are going to be more likely to absorb that energy and store it as glycogen, because that's its stored energy mode, and then it's ready to be released when you go and do your endurance event, cycling, running. You've heard of marathon runners doing a carbohydrate loading. It's often preceded by a carbohydrate depletion phase and then a carbohydrate loading. Okay, so without confusing things too much, just understanding that this term intermittent fasting can be used on an everyday, just for us everyday people, on a scale to shock the body occasionally, once or twice a week, skip a meal or two. Or you might interpret it as, here's a way to really help with my peak performance in a certain sporting event by first depleting and then loading. It maximizes the results of the functions that food group will give you. Exciting times, plenty more to come in future lessons. Thanking you.